Welcome back, everyone. Today is July 9th of 2025. In today's video, we're going to discuss the fascinating numerology surrounding the death of former White Sox relief pitcher Bobby Jenks, who secured the save in Game 4 of the 2005 World Series to give Chicago its first World Series championship in 88 years. Of course, half of 88 is 44, and that's the age that Bobby was when he passed away. Jenks was born on March 14th, the date we numerologists call Pi Day on the calendar, and passed away on Independence Day, or July 4th. My last video discussed the Texas floods that began on July 4th, and how it was connected to a rain-soaked Sunday for the formula races at the British Grand Prix. Now, this flooding was concentrated in Kerr County, Texas, and this video discusses how it's connected to NBA star player and coach Steve Kerr. Well, several years ago, I made a video about Steve Kerr and how he led the Golden State Warriors to a championship that was completely centered around the pi and phi codes. Pi and phi, of course, the two irrational numbers that we talk about the most. And this all connects back to Bobby Jenks dying on July 4th, having been born on Pi Day. Now, with all of this being connected to the United States of America, the U.S. just got its first Pope of the Catholic Church in May when Pope Leo XIV was elected. Now, down in the description below, you'll find a couple links to other videos I made, and two of those are videos on the election of Pope Leo and how it's connected to the Chicago White Sox and the curse of Shoeless Joe Jackson. Of course, the same day I made my posts on Shoeless Joe, Major League Baseball reinstated Shoeless Joe and Pete Rose. Pete Rose played for the Reds, and it was the Reds who defeated the White Sox in the 1919 World Series, which led us to the Black Sox scandal. Now, what makes this connection so solid is that at the World Series for Game 1 in Chicago, Pope Leo was in attendance at the game, and he was shown on television during the main broadcast on Fox. And notice when Pope Leo was shown on the screen. Here we see it's the top of the 9th inning of Game 1. Well, in the top of the 9th inning in Game 1 of that World Series, pitcher Bobby Jenks was on the mound, picking up his first of 2 saves in the World Series. So think about this. When Pope Leo was shown on television 20 years before he was elected as Pope, the White Sox pitcher on the mound was Bobby Jenks. And now, just 2 months after Pope Leo was elected, Bobby Jenks has passed away. And yeah, I am glancing at the chat. The reason I mentioned this connection to the phi code with the flooding in Kerr County and Steve Kerr, again, Jenks dead on the same day that the flooding started. When Bobby Jenks passed away, he was 16,183 days old. Well, phi, or the golden ratio, begins with 1.61803. So here we see that Bobby Jenks, who was born on Pi Day, had the first 5 digits of the golden ratio in his age at death. So shout out to the chat for pointing that fact out. But for the bulk of this video, we're going to talk about how this is all connected to the pi code. Now, when Jenks got the save in Game 1 and 4 of the World Series, it was in the year 2005. Using the standard alphabetic order in Gematria, which leads us into the base 4 methods, where the alphabetic order can be reversed or reduced. In addition to these 4 methods, we also look at 2 extended forms, primarily the Latin method, and the standard cipher. You'll notice the numerical values mirror ancient Hebrew and Greek isopsephy charts. So this was in the year 2005, which reflects the digits of pi in the alphabetic order. Pi equals 25. Furthermore, the word pope equals 205 and 25. When you write out 3.14, it also equals 250. Bobby Jenks is 25 years and 25 weeks younger than Pope Leo. Bobby Jenks has gematria of 57 in reverse reduction, which does match the value of pi in one of our other ciphers. Well, measuring from the date that Pope Leo was elected to the death of Bobby Jenks was 57 days. If you include the end date, we find that Bobby died during his 58th day of the papacy. Well, the 58 stands out because Pope Leo was elected on May 8th, the date written 5/8 here in the United States. And in reduction or Pythagorean gematria, Pope Leo the 14th equals 58. Leo equals 58 with capital letters. And remember, he replaced Pope Francis, whose name also had the 58 in reverse reduction. So already we see a powerful connection between the election of the new American Pope and the death of the pitcher who was on the mound when the Pope was shown on TV. But of course there's a lot more, and next I want to talk about this number 44. Again, half of 88, which is the number of years between Chicago White Sox World Series championships. Chicago, of course, a city that sits right alongside the 88th western meridian on the globe. Now, in ancient Hebrew gematria, the word for circle sums to 44. And as it turns out, Bobby Jenks passed away from cancer, more specifically adenocarcinoma of the stomach. Now, what makes this so curious is that he died under the sign of Cancer. July 4th on the zodiac is the time of Cancer in Western astrology. And Cancer rules the chest and stomach of the body. And Jenks died of stomach cancer. In the alphabetic order, Cancer equals 44. So does chemo. Of course, the word kill, also 44. Cancer often caused by cigarettes, which sums to 44 in reduction. July 4th was exactly 44 weeks before the first anniversary of the election of the new pope. The pope is also referred to as the Bishop of Rome, which equals 440 in Latin. He replaced Pope Francis, who had the 404. And of course, Francis was from Argentina, which equals 44. Robert Prevost, the new pope, was born during lunation 404, matching the gematria of American Pope. And if you look back at my old posts on the election of Pope Leo, you would have seen that the number 44 and 444 were super significant. In fact, President Obama, who's from Chicago, was the 44th United States president. And in my last video, I pointed out how the flooding in Texas was caused due to Tropical Storm Barry. And Barry was the nickname of Barack Obama, which is why he's shown on the thumbnail of that video. Now, next, we need to understand this significant prime number connection. The 44th prime number is 193. This is the ordinal gematria of the new pope's legal name, Robert Prevost. 193, which connects directly to 44. This riddle is centered around the dates that Bobby Jenks started and ended his Major League Baseball career. When he made his Major League debut in 2005, Prevost was 18,193 days old. And then when Jenks played his last game, it was 2,193 days later. So he made his debut on 7/6 and then played his final game on the date 7/7. Well, notice how the name Robert Prevost in reduction equals both 76 and 77. Jenks has matching 76 gematria with both circle and pi as well. Before I talk more about pi, I just want to mention this number 45 that Jenks wore for the Chicago White Sox and why I believe that was the number they gave him. In Latin gematria, the name Bobby Jenks equals 1201. This is another prime number, the 197th. Well, 197 is the 45th prime. So the number on his jersey connects directly to his Latin gematria. And if you're new to this channel, I think this is the most important cipher, the one that you'll find the strongest synchronicities in. So back to the pi code. Because in the reverse caps cipher, where we maintain the alphabetic order but mix capital letters in with smalls, the name Robert Prevost sums to 314. Circles equals 314 in satanic gematria, and again, Bobby Jenks born on the date 314. In fact, when he played his final Major League Baseball game, it was the first day of the 314th week of his career. But check this out. When you write out 3.14 in the two main ciphers of extended gematria, Latin and Standard, you get 888 and 1268. Jenks made his Major League debut at 8,880 days of age, which meant he was also 1,268 weeks old. And now, he's passed away during Brown lunation number 1,268. Again, every new moon since 1923 has been numbered. This is called the Brown lunation number. His full name, Robert Scott Jenks, equals 218 in reverse, and this is the Hebrew value for moon. Also, his name equals 61 in reduction, and the 61st prime is 283, which is the moon in Latin. So there's definitely some strong lunar syncs here. And just think about how on Bobby's birthday this year, on Pi Day, the moon was eclipsed by the Earth. So not only did he die during Brown Lunation 1268, but it's also been 1,268 months since the end of the 1919 World Series, which again gave us the Black Sox scandal, where several players were banned for life. It's also been 105 years since the 1919 World Series. And the name Bobby Jenks equals 105 in ordinal. For those of you watching live in the Central Time Zone, you may have noticed I started this video at 105 as a tribute to Bobby. So in reduction gematria, the word pi sums to 16. Bobby Jenks died exactly 16 weeks after his birthday. And again, on his birthday, there was a total lunar eclipse. 16 weeks is also 112 days, or 3 months and 3 weeks. So not only does pi equal 16, but when you write out 314 and the circle, they both equal 160. The word circle equals 112, and circles equals 33. When Bobby Jenks made his Major League debut in 2005, it was exactly 16 weeks before the White Sox won the World Series, which is also, again, 112 days or 3 months and 3 weeks. The name Robert Jenks also equals 160. And his common name, Bobby Jenks, equals 33, which also matches Leo XIV, the new pope. And it's appropriate that Bobby passed away in the country of Portugal. Well, Portugal has been big in the news lately because a Portuguese footballer recently died in a big car crash. I did a video on that last week, Diogo Jota. Notice how Portugal sums to 110 and 106. The same digits in Robert Scott Jenks, in pi, Robert Francis Prevost, his full name, and Pope. All with matching numbers with Portugal. It just makes sense, doesn't it? Portugal, 11 and 16, just like pi, 11 and 16. So next up, I want to talk about how this connects to 227. But before we get there, Robert Prevost was born on the date leaving 108 days on the calendar. Now, look at how old he was when the White Sox won the World Series. His favorite team. Prevost was 18,306 days of age. Well, when you write out the number 314, it equals 108 and 306. Well, Bobby Jenks was born exactly 306 months after the new pope, who was elected 306 days after the anniversary of Bobby's first game. In fact, that first game was also exactly 36 weeks before his own birthday. And when he was born, it was on a date with a life lesson number of 36. And on July 4th, Jenks died exactly 36 weeks after the anniversary of the White Sox winning the World Series. Now, 36 is obviously a number connected to the circle, because a circle is made up of 360 degrees. In the alphabetic order, 360 has an ordinal value of 227. And this is no mistake at all. Because 22 divided by 7 is the smallest equation you can use to get 314 on a calculator. This is why Alt 227 gives you the pi symbol on a Windows keyboard. And in Gematria, 22 divided by 7 equals 314. Bobby was 227 days after his birthday when he saved Game 4 to clinch the World Series. His MLB career lasted a span of 72 months and 2 days. And then Pope Leo was elected exactly 722 weeks after his final game. So that's just about it for the pi code. But there's one more thing I want to talk about before I sign off today. Bobby Jenks was on the Chicago White Sox in the year 2009. And in the year 2009, White Sox pitcher Mark Buehrle threw a perfect game. And I have my own personal synchronicity with this, because I just so happened to watch the second half of this game live on television. And Mark Buehrle wore number 56, and this was my mom's 56th birthday, which I just thought was wild. Of course, Pope equals 56. When the White Sox won the World Series, the Pope was exactly 50 years and 6 weeks old. And the Pope's full name, Robert Francis Prevost, equals the 56th prime number. So anyway, my point is that Bobby Jenks was on the roster for the White Sox during this perfect game. And there's a wild perfection riddle here as well. So in Latin Gematria, Catholic Church sums to 496. I think Chicago's other baseball team, the Chicago Cubs, also sums to 496. And check out how old Prevost was when Bobby Jenks died. 25,496 days old. 496 is just the third perfect number. What this means is that if you add all of the divisors of 496, they sum to 496 times 2, which is 992. So these are very rare things, a perfect number. In ordinal, the words perfect and number both equal 73, and Bobby Jenks was born on the 73rd day of the year. Sacrifice and ritual sacrifice both equal 73. And he died 73 days before the new Pope's birthday. His death was also 73 years after Shoeless Joe Jackson's. And as far as the 211, he died 211 days after the date that Shoeless Joe died. He also died 2 months, 11 days before the Pope's birthday. Both ritual human sacrifice and killing equal 211. And the year 2011 is when he ended his Major League Baseball career. This is another prime number. 211 is the 47th prime number. And that's perfect because he died on the 4th of July, or 4/7, matching Robert Jenks, the Circle, and Pope, all in Gematria. Of course, you can also write that date 7/4, July 4th, and Chicago White Sox equals 7/4. I guess it's appropriate that I'm doing this video on July 9th, or 7/9, as that's White Sox in standard reduction, but I don't know, this story kind of slipped by me. I didn't even see this until yesterday afternoon. But as soon as I saw it, I knew immediately it was going to be synced up to the new Pope. Because this guy saved the World Series with the Pope in the crowd. So, I mean, honestly, I don't know how much more clear and concise these decodes can be. I'm known for not exactly keeping things simple on this channel. And while Gematria can be viewed simply, the depths that it reaches are anything but. So that'll do it for this video, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Whether you're watching live or archived, do feel free to like, share, subscribe. Links to support the channel and the website are also found in the description, where you'll come across some other links to related videos as well. Peace, love, God bless. We'll talk to you all next time. See ya.